where were those patients treated along the process? So what was the month or even the week that the work was done that allowed you to earn the money later? Welcome to another episode of the Physician Growth Accelerator, a show where we break down your private medical practice systems into vitals, give you the tools to diagnose root cause of what may be restricting your growth, and prescribe what to do about it. I'm your host, Ed Williamson, and I believe everything you experience is the perfect outcome of your current system. The freedom that gives you is if you don't like what you're experiencing right now in any aspect of business or personal life, just know it's the perfect outcome. So all we have to do is step back, take responsibility, and tweak the system. And I've been hearing a lot from private medical practices that there's this extra feeling of stress, where it seems like the top side of the revenue, the income of the practice, is getting closer to how much it costs to run the practice. And that gap, as it gets tinier and tinier and tinier, brings more stress to the existence of the practice. And depending on the structure of your practice, that's really felt if you are the sole, business owning physician, because you feel like you're that main cog in the machine that also gets pulled in so many different directions. And so it's important to understand where you are, meaning we need to measure. But what do you measure in business? Business is interesting, and medical practices is actually a very challenging business. People outside of it don't realize it. It would be hard to talk someone in who, let's say someone's not in healthcare, and let's say they're an entrepreneur and they've started multiple, let's say just local businesses in their area. It would be hard to go up to that person and go, hey, look, I got a business idea for you. You don't get to charge what you want. That's determined by someone else, typically billion-dollar companies with lots of lawyers. And you don't really get to explain a value as to why someone uses you. You just kind of have to fix people who need help when they think they need help. And the work you do today, you actually get paid for that between 6 weeks or 6 months, and you don't really know, and it depends. And your costs are going up, but that pay you're getting that you don't get to control, it's coming down. And not a lot of people would jump at that business. It still can be a very healthy business, don't get me wrong. But these are the challenges that you deal with that other businesses don't. And so the importance of measuring, if you're in a really simple business, it's really important to measure. Your business, it's more important to measure. I want you to think about, let's say you're driving somewhere and you have to make a right-hand turn. And let's say you turn too early. You hit a curb. You know right away. Let's say you turn too late. You hit a tree. You know right away. That's most business. But with your business, you actually have to make the turn 3 or 4 blocks in advance. Like you have to set the turn up and then hands off the wheel and hope that it was correct. And here's why I'm talking about that. If you're doing something to drive, let's say, a specific type of patient into your practice, let's say you have a website, you're doing advertising, marketing, whatever. And so you do something on February 1st. And February 1st, a message goes to the proper type of patient, and they go, oh my gosh, this is what I'm experiencing. I should reach out to that practice. But things get in the way of their life, right? So maybe they reach out on February 5th. And then your practice actually missed the phone call because on average, practices miss 42% of incoming phone calls. But the patient is diligent and they're excited about getting help. So they call back again on February 12th. And now the practice answers the phone. And so they talk to the patient and they set up a new patient appointment. That new patient appointment is 12 days into the future, February 24th. And, that's fine. But it's so far into the future that something pops up and the patient has to reschedule the appointment. So they call the practice and they reschedule it for March 5th. They show up March 5th. Turns out they need some diagnostics. Those get scheduled for March 12th. They go get the diagnostics, get another visit to review the diagnostics on March 20th. And then on March 20th, it's determined that they can get this procedure that's going to help them that they first were inquiring about. And so now that procedure is scheduled 3 weeks into the future-ish. Let's say it's April 10th. April 10th, do the procedure. Maybe notes aren't taken right away. Paperwork isn't completed. It kind of fades in, and you actually get payment from the insurance company on June 15th. Okay, that is not a strange scenario. But think about the path we just created. You did a thing that you invested on February 1st, and the impact from a revenue standpoint happened June 15th. So, what do you measure? If you only measure that June 15th part where you get paid from insurance companies, you are completely flying blind. I think you're worse than flying blind. You're flying with a false view. Like it's showing you something that is different than what is real. You're seeing open plains and there's mountains right in front of you. If you only measure that, it is dangerous to make decisions about your practice. My suggestion is understanding what influenced the June 15th revenue. Where were those patients treated along the process? So what was the month or even the week that the work was done that allowed you to earn the money later? Because here's what happens is you show up and you don't like your July. And July's going, man, yeah, you know what, all this stuff we did in July just didn't work. I mean, look at this revenue, so we got to change things up, change everything. We got to do stuff completely different. And August actually turns out to be pretty good. So you're like, oh, man, I'm pretty smart. Stuff I did worked. When in reality, it was the stuff you did 3 months ago is what affected July. And you operated on data that was false. And now you just basically screwed up what 3 months is going to look like in the future. If you're not measuring the inputs and the outputs, this is what can happen. You would be surprised by what the gap in time is between your patient's first appointment and when they get treatment. The reason I know this is every diagnostic we do for our practice includes understanding this data, but we also ask the practice what they believe it is, and it is never right, it is never close, it's never in the same universe. You know, people think, 2 weeks and it's 65 days. That is a big impact on your business. And if you measure one thing, make sure you're measuring what work is being done so that you're able to collect from the insurance companies in the months forward. What you got paid this month is the least important part. We got to pay attention to it to make sure we're not, there's nothing going wrong there. But it's baked. You are done by that time. You need to understand what created this in the last month, 2 months, 6 months of effort. And that'll give you some insights into how to tweak your business. If you're curious about what your practice vitals look like, go to physiciangrowthaccelerator.com and check your vitals. It's a simple online quiz. It helps you identify where are the pinch points, the main points of constraint that might be restricting my growth, might be restricting your ability to have the healthiest business medical practice. And with that, we'll see you next time on the Physician Growth Accelerator.